Hey everybody, you made it. Congratulations. You made it all the way to the end of our Acts 28 day challenge. If anyone hasn't said it yet, I am so proud of you. If you missed any of them, don't worry. They're always on our website or they're on YouTube. You can go back and check any of the ones that you missed out. But good job getting to the end of our Acts 28 day challenge. Throughout the book of Acts, we have seen miracles and martyrs, stoning and shipwrecks, prisons and preaching, all kinds of excitement. And we have reflected on how to be the church by looking at the early church. The whole book of Acts, it follows the early church, and it's the grand adventures and trials in trusting God and believing in this new Jesus guy, this new, not dead anymore, resurrected Jesus guy. We talked about Jesus' resurrection and ascension into heaven. We talked about the conversion of Paul and the persecution of those who are new converts to this whole Christian thing. So today, as we kind of close up our study of Acts, I want to ask you this question. Where is God in your struggles? That's a question that I ask myself all the time. I don't know about you, but the last couple of years have been really hard for me. The last 5 years probably in my life have just been full of struggles. And I wish it wasn't that way. And it all seemed to be things that were outside of my control. In 2017, my mom was diagnosed with cancer and then she died that December. 2018 was full of just grief, the grief of losing my mom and what that meant for me. 2019, my daughter Mackenzie, she graduated from high school, which was a good thing, but then I was grieving the loss of her going to college. And in 2019, we also made the bold move as a family to move here to Alexandria, Minnesota, to try out a new adventure. In 2020, I don't even have to tell you the struggles of 2020 or 2021 for that matter. Those were hard years for not just me, but for everyone. I think we all struggled here in the last couple of years. But in chapter 27, Paul, he is struggling. He is shipwrecked, and the crew, they have him captive, but they have suffered terribly. They had some terrible storms and food shortages, and finally they just crash completely on the island of Malta. They only make it there by swimming or by holding on to the planks. But the good news is that not one of them died. God had promised that none of them would die in that shipwreck. But here in chapter 28 on the island of Malta, they meet some natives who are kind to them. And the Bible says that these natives from Malta, they offered Paul and his associates, all the other crew, unusual kindness. I love that the Bible says that. And Paul, he wants to return the favor for their unusual kindness. So he goes out and he starts collecting some firewood for them. And as he is putting that firewood into the fire, all of a sudden a viper jumps out and bites Paul on the hand. It latches himself on his hand, but he shakes it off and throws it back into the fire. And the native Malta islanders, they're just in shock. They're in shock because in their culture, this viper bite meant that this viper was nature rendering a guilty verdict on this prisoner Paul. But here's the thing, this viper bite, it doesn't kill Paul. In fact, he shakes it off and they kind of wait and watch for him to swell up and die, but then he doesn't. So now Paul, think of all his struggles. Paul has suffered imprisonment, a shipwreck, a viper bite. That is a lot for somebody to go through, isn't it? All in order to be able to share the gospel with people. And so after being in Malta for some time, Paul starts to connect with the natives. And then he starts to actually care for the natives and heal them. He heals them from fevers and from dysentery. And in their gratitude, they provide provisions for Paul and for the rest of the crew to continue their journey to Rome. After they make it to Rome, finally Paul makes it to Rome. He's been working on this for a number of chapters. After he gets there, he's finally given the chance to convince the Roman Jews about Jesus. And he spends his whole day, the Bible says he spends his whole day from morning until evening trying to convince them, make the case about Jesus' work in the world. And in Acts chapter 28, in the Bible, it says that his convincing, that says some of them were convinced and some of them were not. I kind of love this because I feel like it's really, really human. Even Paul, who's been through all of this other stuff, he can't get everybody to believe. But that doesn't make him quit trying. Paul stays in Rome there for another 2 years under house arrest, but he continues to teach about Jesus, and the Bible says, boldly and without hindrance. What amazes me about the depth of Paul's journey through the books of Acts is that even in the middle of his struggles, his faith perseveres. His experience of God can handle any detour that he takes, any shipwreck, any struggle, any question, any insecurity, and any doubt. And I hope that that's the message that you take from Acts chapter 28 today. Whatever you're going through, whatever you're struggling with, whatever's just really hard for you in your life right now, I want you to hear this. God has got you. God is just as present for you as God was for Peter and Paul and Stephen and Philip and Lydia and Phoebe, everyone in the book of Acts. God has got you through all those struggles too. Not because of what you do or don't do, not because you just rocked a 28-day Bible challenge, but because of who God is. So here's our final questions as we close up our Acts challenge. Number 1, what's your biggest takeaway from doing this kind of study? And number 2, who is one person that you can share what you learned with? Friends, we would love for you to continue to stay engaged in a lifelong faith journey. And there's a couple of ways that I want you to know that you can take that next step and stay engaged. The first one is that you can sign up for Calvary emails. You can go on our website at calvaryalex.org and click on the button that says, I want to sign up for emails. We send out a once-a-week email to everyone on our email list, just sharing all the ways that you can get engaged in a lifelong faith journey. And number 2, I want to encourage you to go and like our social media. We are on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. You can subscribe and go ahead and get notifications. That way you can hear of more and more messages of God's work in the world. Guys, thank you so much. I'm so proud of you. Even in all your struggles, God has got you, and have a wonderful day.